Sherry Tempalski's latest art exhibit, Forced Migrations. Now, her portraits aren't just to look at. They have voices as well. While she paints, her subjects talk to her, and her husband, a videographer, records them. When the work is done, there is, of course, the portrait on canvas, but in the background, there's a story, and the stories are being told in her newest exhibit, All from Refugees. Forced Migration can be seen this week at Le Petit Mort Gallery in the Byward Market, and Sherry Tempalski is with me in the studio. Hello there.
Hello.
But what is that process like? You sit down with someone and they start telling you the story as you're painting?
While I'm involved with the actual painting process, I actually don't hear the person. It's probably more unconscious, their story, their voice.
Do you hear their voice, though,
yes.
as you're painting?
Yes.
Because you are also a psychiatrist as
yes.
well. And I wondered whether you can separate those two parts of your mind, the artist and the psychiatrist.
I can't. I've been a psychiatrist for over 20 years, so I've heard many stories of tragic circumstance, and it's just part of me now, in a sense. I hear the voice. I can often, in fact, when we were doing the portraits of the people from Afghanistan, the Afghan refugees, they were speaking in Farsi and a different language. And I was saying to my colleagues, it doesn't really even matter if they're speaking another language, because I can hear so much in just the tone and the volume of their voice.
That's interesting in itself.
Yeah.
Were there, once you heard the words, once you heard the translation, once you understood actually what it was that was being said in some of those cases,
yes,
did it ever change how the portrait evolved? Did it change how the work continued?
No, not really, because there's so much, there's the great depth of pain that these people, the massive change that they've had to endure, it's just enormous. The leaving their family, friends, culture, language. These are enormous changes that one has to go through, and there's so much to process.
And all of these stories, when you're incorporating them into obviously any artist has a distinctive style. You've got a style yourself as an artist.
Yes.
But do you find the portraits from one character to another, from each of these people that you've interviewed, do you notice how different, what some of the differences are that some of the subjects demand from you as an artist?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I think the portraits are all different. The style is similar in that they're collages, mixed media, and they tend to have a fragmented aspect to them. And I use a lot of sheet music, so the idea that they've been fragmented by the traumatic circumstances.
Why sheet music?
The sheet music is from music that was collected in Ottawa over the past 20 years. Some of it's quite old. It's from Ottawa orchestras. And so, in a sense, it represents the culture that they have to reassemble themselves in.
And thus the fragmented feel of the paintings.
Of the work, yeah.
I wondered, I guess as a psychiatrist, you must be used to drawing stories out of people. The one thing, do you need different parts of those stories as an artist?
I don't think so. I mean, it's... in a sense, it's, there's very similar aspects to it, because as a psychiatrist, one is trying to, in a sense, mirror back to the person and help them articulate their experience verbally, to put their experience into words and make sense of it that way. And as an artist, it's slightly different. It's a visual mirroring. So I'm trying to mirror back to them their experience of themselves in a visual way. I had a very touching moment with one of the Afghan refugees, because I said to him, we don't have to use your name in the portrait if you would rather remain anonymous. It's going to be an expressionistic work. People probably won't recognize you. And he said, well, let's wait and see until the portrait is done. Once the portrait was done, he looked at it and he said, I've had my picture taken a number of times, and I don't even think it looks like me. He said, but this painting feels like me. And he said, I want you to use my name. So I was very touched by that.
Sherry, very quickly, there are bigger plans for the exhibit. It goes on From where? From
Well, we'll be at Library and Archives for World Refugee Week in June 2010. That will be the full installation with probably about 16 paintings, 16 videos, and then there'll also be an opportunity for the refugee artists to perform at that exhibit, and there'll be speakers and so on.
All right, we'll give more details closer to that exhibit and the one that's going on right now. Sherry, thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Sherry Tempolsky is an Ottawa artist, and her exhibit Forced Migration is at Le Petit Mort Gallery at 306 Cumberland Street until Thursday.